Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Southampton and today the Daily Palace, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. We are back to real football. We have a crossover. It is fantastic time. My name is Greg Elliott, as always joined by my good friend and co-host Zach. How you doing,
Hello.
Zach?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. I've got a bit of a cough. I will make sure to mute if I randomly have to cough my guts up because that doesn't make good viewing or sounds. So, other than that, pretty standard, mate.
And joining us from the Daily Palace, Dan. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing all right. Still early enough in the week. Still vibing off of the FA Cup quarter-final. Going to Wembley, so I'm all cushy. So
Happy days.
Let's give this a...
Happy days. It's almost a tale of two opposing levels of excitement coming into this fixture, right? Because you must be absolutely buzzing, pretty much confirmed safe, pushing for mid to top half of the table, FA Cup semi-final, day out at Wembley, and we're thinking, oh no, we've got to watch Saints play again.
It's like, almost the end of the season. Almost the end of the season, mate. Just a couple more losses.
Yeah. So, how are you feeling, Dan, heading into Wednesday night? Are you confident it's just going to be carrying on as business as normal?
Pretty confident about it. We're on an insane run at the minute, and watching Palace play on the weekend against Fulham, just how sort of clinical and just how good we looked playing the other day. I'm really confident on sort of more or less the back end of the season. I think we've got a couple of sort of the big teams to kind of contend with, but fairly confident we can we're basically where we should have been from the very beginning of the season. And maybe with a little bit of luck, we might be able to sort of maybe push into Europe, maybe slightly knock on that door a little bit, maybe get into the top 10, which will put the icing on the cake of a really sort of... I know you guys are probably used to this, but we had a pretty show at the beginning of the season as well. But I know yours kind of carried on. But I'm trying not to dig it in, but you probably got enough of that already.
Yeah, it's been some tough viewing, to be honest. And
it's really nice of you to say beginning of the season.
Beginning of the season, we went. Yeah. I think it was 8 or 9 without a win, or even I think we had 1 point in 8, and it's just like we were in the same position you guys probably were. Like, what is going on? Come on.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I feel like every crossover episode for the entire season, I've asked the question, do you think it's possible that you sort of look past us and we become a banana skin for this sort of run that you're on? It hasn't happened yet, but I'm putting it in the universe that...
If it's going to be anybody, it is going to be Palace. We do have a great history of making a meal of it. I think it was Leicester or something like that the other couple of weeks ago. Easy victory, no problem. So what do? Throw the ball straight to them. So we could very, very easily be a Palace that does the sort of the whole banana skin thing. We'll shoot ourselves in the foot. We make life difficult for ourselves on occasion. We have previous, really.
So what's changed to sort of drive this run on from you guys? Where's it come from? Where's it all started going right?
We've been asked this a few times. To begin with, I really don't know. But after watching the last couple of games, we recycle the ball really well. So once we lose it, everybody's compact and gets the ball back really quickly. And then we'll get it out to the playmakers with high percentage passing. So a little one so if Tyreek Mitchell gets the ball on the left wing back position, he knows exactly who to pass to, where Eze is going to be, where Wharton is going to be. And it's just, I think that's what's kind of turned it around to sort of simplifying it. Don't try and be too complicated and just be difficult to play against. And kind of the counter-attack has gotten very sort of efficient as well. We used to, at the beginning of the season, it was get the ball to Eze, he puts his head down, runs to the other end of the pitch, try and shoot for 30 yards out, give the ball back to the opposition, and we start again. Now it's a little bit more of a build-up. but we can also do it really quickly as well. Getting out to like Munoz in particular has become quite deadly, especially in the last couple of months. Even got a couple of goals and assists in there. So I think it's just sort of we've gotten back to basics and just made it easier for our players to work out where they all are, and just to make life difficult for everybody else. Really,
Zach, are you seeing any points to take confidence from? Is it really just a case of counting down these 9 games that are left, or have we got something to fight for?
You'd think it would be enough to not want to be the worst Premier League team of all time, but I just don't think that's the case. It does seem a lot of them have switched off a little bit. But I think that our biggest opportunity probably was that Wolves game. We had a bit of momentum to build off of, and then for some reason started with that striker, which was an insanely weird decision, but something that we're all kind of now used to. So I don't know. I think that it's almost like the antithesis of what we've done, right? It's okay. Well, if we keep training and simplify everything and build up to understand and have that kind of footballing chemistry, I guess is the word in my head. You end up with a team like Palace where nothing's hugely changed. Whereas with us, we've switched manager, switched styles, switched personnel every game. We don't know who's starting. We've had Joe Aribo, our top goal scorer, at centre back a few times. They don't ever play. Juric doesn't like to play centre backs and centre back. So I guess what I'm really hoping over the last 2 weeks is that there is some level of cohesion and plan and ability to address, well, hey, this has been awful and it's going to be awful. And Juric's perspective, he's going to lose his job. Like, it's the writings on the wall pretty much anyway. Does he want to go out with not being worse than Nathan Jones? Because that's where he's at. And that's a low bar to begin with. So I guess where I'm at is I'm hoping for some sort of reaction. And as I told you before, Greg, I know that you're all about getting those wins, but I still think we just need to draw out some draws. And if this is one of them, I will take that. Is that the level of positivity you expected from me, mate?
If anything, it's slightly more positive. Okay. I'm going to come back and talk about the season as a whole a bit, but first a message from our partners at Bionic.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionic, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionic provide 100% tailor-made supplements, designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionic. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now. Your body...
Every time.
Okay, and we are back. Okay, Dan, I'm going to throw it over to you. Obviously, pushing on for top half of the table now with this sort of run. I think I read an article that there might be as many as 11 European places available for English teams at the end of this season, if the planets align and something crazy happens, which is absurd. But I mean, at the start of the season, before that sort of bad run, is that what the target was, do you think? Or was it just to sort of stay comfortably in this sort of middle pack of teams?
I think the plan was to kind of stay somewhere where we were last season and a couple of seasons before, like sitting around the 10th to 13th position. We haven't got the squad to really push forwards. And we just sort of, as I've said earlier, on some games we can like shoot ourselves in the foot. Like we can go to the Etihad and go and win 1-0. And then next week we'll go and lose to Ipswich or something. We have this great, our form will sort of swing wildly one way to the other in most seasons. And this season was no different. We were a massive slow starter. Everybody was going, why aren't you further up the table? Why are you struggling? Why are you struggling? We're going, we don't know. It's largely the same squad we had last season and the same manager, etc. Nothing had really changed, but just something just wasn't right. And then now we've had our sort of resurgence. So yeah, I don't think the the plan wasn't to probably push forward, and the plan probably wasn't to go deep into the FA Cup and the League Cup, but that's the way sort of it's gone at the moment, because Glasner is very much when he goes into a game, he's out to win it. He's not going to try and settle for a draw or anything. He's going to put the best team he possibly can to try and win the game. And when he doesn't, I think it probably does irk him, and it really annoys him when sort of we weren't playing to the same the potential we should do. Because as I said, the beginning of the season, we weren't losing by a lot. It was 1-0s, 2-1s kind of thing. We weren't getting beaten. It's just we weren't finishing. We weren't being sort of putting up any kind of fight against the opposition. So, basically that would be my answer to your question, that I don't think European spots were on the cards, but it's a distinct possibility now.
Definitely a lot closer, with a nice trip to Wembley to boot as well. Hopefully 2 trips to Wembley, right? That's the way you want to kick on. I'm going to set myself up for disappointment and ask: have you seen much of Saints this season? Is there any? Do you see any form of threat from us at all that might do some damage?
I will have to admit, I haven't seen a lot of you guys. I've been kind of paying attention to Palace, so
right, you saved yourself.
It's sort of like looking at the results over the last sort of month, 2 months or so, and going, how has it gone that badly, really? Because like the last time we did get relegated again, but you were like 3 times as many points and 3 times. It's like, what happened? How have you gotten into this position where the sort of a record is on the line?
Yeah, we have been unfortunate at times to not have more points than we've got. I think it's fair to say early on in the season, when we were really desperate to sort of get some momentum going, there were a few VAR decisions that really did us some harm. But we've really struggled with mentality on the pitch. As soon as any little thing goes against us, that sort of seems to be it. The whole team capitulates, and there doesn't seem to be any sort of fight back or ability to just push on and get anything. We've had spells where we've looked half decent, and spells like 70 minutes against United and 45 against Liverpool where we've looked like a team that shouldn't be in the position we're in. But there have also been spells where we look like we are exactly where we deserve to be. Sometimes we, much like you were saying, we will just gift goals to any striker who is struggling for a form. We just seem to be the team that will break anyone's streak and patch, and it's been really painful, to be honest. Yeah, it's going to be a long run in with the writing very much on the wall, as it has been for some time now. Although somehow not mathematically yet. So
somehow,
yeah, it's definitely been a tough one, but it is what it is. We'll bounce on to next season and hope for some more fun football there at least. So that's the only hope, right, Zach?
Can't wait, mate. I'm so done with this season at this point, and it's incredible parallels, right? Like you're talking about how it really irks Glasner that you would sort of lose and the silly little margins. And I think the problem is that we have had the excuses of VAR decisions, and as much as we had a very, very personable manager, and I think that they were like very much fighting for him. As soon as he went, they've all kind of switched off, apart from the ones that weren't his favourites that have all switched on. But they're still, everybody isn't really clicking together. We've had a couple of sort of players we brought in that have wanted to leave and have left in January. A couple of players that, like Flynn Down's a perfect example of somebody that came in. We were very, very excited. He was like, we was someone we really wanted to get after the success of last season. And then like by January, it's like, I want to move to Ipswich. It's like, mate, come on, have some more ambition. Like you sidestep into a team that's also going to get relegated. And I think that's the thing, right? Is that it is, and you hit the nail on the head, Greg, whereas it's a big mentality thing. But I also do wonder, it's like it's just everything that could have gone wrong at times that could have gone wrong have remained wrong, and we've never built a run. Like even our new manager bounce was like a 0-0 draw.
Before he was in charge as well. That was
before he was in charge, and then we had a couple of games, including against yourselves, where like we scored quite early on, and then you hit us back straight away, and then Eze scored a goal, and then that was that. Writing's on the wall, and I think it's just it's a hard question to answer, like how it's gone so catastrophically wrong, because I think we're still trying to figure it out, and the ownership are definitely trying to figure it out. But I'm hoping, I don't know, that maybe when it's mathematical, maybe the pressure's off a little bit, and maybe they can just play with a bit of freedom, and that is when maybe they'll beat the record. But I really struggle to see where we take points the rest of this season, especially against yourselves, because I think that again it's showing that grit and determination to get through the bad spells, and it's just something we haven't done this season.
Honestly,
haven't needed to.
I still think our only real hope is accidentally beating Leicester. That's
potentially, or again, like we really upset Arsenal the last day of the season, or actually the classic Saints thing. The thing that we think is going to happen, and we discussed this on a previous episode, is that to have the last game at Goodison Park against Saints, and then Saints to go on and win it, just to upset every single Evertonian out there, is just a very thing where, well, we're already like the loser of this season, we may as well be the villain as well. So that's kind of where we're at. It's very, very contrasting fortunes where, wow, what we'd give for a cup run now, eh, Greg?
Yeah, I don't know. Less chance for Saints to ruin my weekend or weekend cases has actually been somewhat of a blessing over the last couple of weekends, it has to be said. Okay, so we're going to go for some score predictions, but first a message from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr. Okay, so we are back. Dan, I'm going to throw you under the bus first and let you get your prediction out there. How do you see it playing out under the lights?
So I go first as a guest, yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
As a guest, you get to go. Oh, fair enough. I'm going to stick with my usual one. I think it's going to be probably a 2-0. I don't expect us to go hell for leather or anything, but we've been so good in the defence, and going forward now, we've got some real weapons. Mateta is definitely going to be up for it, especially with your defensive record. I think he's definitely going to be sniffing around going, I can probably get a couple more here. And Eze are definitely on form after FA Cup one and a first England goal. I think he's going to be a real handful for you guys. So
what a goal
I would think a fairly comfortable 2-0, but I don't think they're not going to be all guns blazing. I think it's probably going to be some point in the second half, maybe late first half, before the goals sort of really start going in, just because we don't really go hell for leather.
I think that's a fair and balanced prediction. Zach, how positive are you feeling?
Not enough for us to win, I'm afraid, Greg. And the last time I really hoped for a 0-0 draw, we still lost miserably. So it'll probably, I would say, probably a 2-0 to Palace as well. I don't know if they, and so unless they've sorted out the way they want to play attacking, I just don't see, Arteta last time as well had Bednarek on toast for the entirety of the game. And to the point where it was like, do you remember it got to about the 80th minute, Greg, and we were like, how is Bednarek still on the field? Like, how he hadn't been carded at that point. Like, he had pulled out every trick in the book and just couldn't handle him. And obviously at that point, there was no real need. And, as you said, Eze's on form and you guys are just on form. And I think for you, it would be a sort of very standard sort of 3 points and probably well deserved as well. And you're in the form for it, whereas we're really struggling. And it'll be interesting to see how they try and piece together the sort of team back after the international break as well, where some of our team were actually away. Some of them actually got wins for the first time ever. I say ever in a footballer's mind. It's been a long season, right? So, but yeah, I can't really see where we're creating. I worry now, Greg, because if we're not starting strikers, I don't know where the goals come from. So I'm really sorry to disappoint you, but
that was a concern when we were playing strikers, to be fair.
This is also true, but at least it's not me saying 5-0, because I That's where I've been at this point. I can just get out a D&D dice, roll the D20 and guess, and that's pretty much where it's at.
Take a while. Right, I got a critical 20. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Go.
It's a critical 1. Woo!
I read on the Echo page yesterday one of the most amusing and slightly depressing stats I've seen all season, and that is that yesterday marked the longest period of days where Saints have gone without being beat this season, because we haven't played in 17 days.
Because of an international break.
Oh, and that's why we've been so happy and cheery. Wonderful.
But that said, God. I am so far through the cycle of hope. Look, I haven't predicted a Saints loss yet this season, and it's not going to start now, let's be honest. If I've kept the hope alive this far, I don't see it changing. I think 2-1. Classic, because I don't see us keeping a clean sheet.
At least you're always honest about that now. The clean sheet stopped about the end of January, so
yeah. And maybe we'll accidentally score 2 goals. Maybe one of them will be an own goal, because that's probably, I think that would actually push own goals again as our technical top scorer for the
goal scorer of the season.
So.
Where else are the goals coming from, Greg? Who else you reckon?
Tall Paul, trip over one, put it in the net.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's what we want to see. Look, it would be really nice to get a win at home or something at home before the season ends. And it is my son's birthday that we're all going down for, so hopefully he can bring the luck and not just further add to the level of character building that we're introducing to him to at such a young age.
That's a brilliant term, character building. That's what we're calling it now, yeah?
Yeah.
It's even worse. Greg makes them sit in Northern, which is like our, I guess our busy fan area, right? So Chapel's supposed to be the family stand, and I still remember you, Greg, telling me that when you got your kid's season ticket, the person on the phone being, "Are you sure you want to have kids in that area?" And your exact response then was character building.
Yeah,
now they just know how to react properly.
My kids have always been too feral to sit in the family end, to be clear. When we had to move to the family end, when the extended family came to watch on Boxing Day, they were stood at the front leading the chants. So, unfortunately, it's fully developed into them. It's just one of those things.
Exactly. How are these kids supposed to learn nowadays if they're not sort of... They have to learn it somehow.
Absolutely.
You've got to learn losing somewhere, and I think being a Saints fan is 100% away, because also it's not like they don't have any of the ups. We went to Wembley, they got to go to Wembley, they're just going to think it's now every other year.
Yes. One good year, one miserable year. I mean, to be honest, I'd take that. This has been a particularly miserable one, though.
Yeah, I don't think I can handle another season like this, mate. I'm not going to lie. 9 points, and some of the 2 wins we got, one of them being a really good win and one of them being a really poor game against Everton, where I kind of feel like we won by accident, right? Like,
yes.
But then again, the double against Everton still on. So
still on. There we go.
There you go. That's our piece of hope. It's not my piece of hope isn't even beating you guys, because I feel like you're gonna have a great time. And I look forward to either way. I have a weird soft spot for Palace. I got a guy that I used to follow on Twitter for a really, really long time that was a Palace fan, and we always used to have back and forth every time that Saints would play them, and until the relegation season, where it was more like, "Oh, sorry guys," and now it's, what do you say? It's like, "You guys are terrible, aren't you?" It's like, yeah, pretty much.
Very much so. But yes. Okay, well, that is just about all we've got time for today. Dan, thank you very much for joining me, and long may your push for European football continue after your loss on Wednesday, though, let's hope.
No worries. It's been a right laugh, guys. I know you've got running through the pain. Just get it over.
That's it.
But it's all a great pleasure, guys.
That's it. Zach, as always, thank you for joining me. Thanks everyone for listening. Go and give us a follow on all the socials. Let us know your score predictions in the comments. We will be back tomorrow.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.